I've always believed that there are certain games that need to be experienced as blindly as possible. If you look up everything about them beforehand, you may accidentally rob yourself of something special. Some games aren't just meant to be beaten and completed. Your journey through them can be more valuable than the destination. Digimon World 1 is that sort of game, I believe. The world is mysterious yet inviting. It wants you to get out there and explore. Sometimes you'll end up in a place you shouldn't be in and you'll get wiped out by wild enemies. But that's part of it. It's part of the experience. Sometimes you have to take the good with the bad. And this game is even full of special secret Digivolutions. If you didn't know about them and if your partner randomly digivolved into something really cool or weird, it would have been a very memorable moment, wouldn't you say? Now, Digimon World 1 isn't a user-friendly game. It will barely ever tell you anything. And it's not an easy game either. In the beginning, you will find it difficult to train your partner Digimon well, to take care of their needs, to make progress in the game. But as you learn more about the world, things will begin to get easier. You'll soon be able to get powerful champion level Digimon, and as you keep improving, soon you'll even be training your very own awesome ultimate level Digimon. That is the intended way for you to play through this game. Once you get there, everything will start falling into place. Soon, you'll be able to sit back and relax as your powerful, unbeatable, ultimate level Digimon make quick work of even the most challenging enemies in the game. That would be pretty amazing, right? Well, today, we are gonna play this game in a different way. There are a couple of champion level Digimon who are meant to be avoided at all cost. The game considers them to be punishments for you for not training your rookie Digimon properly. You are expected to avoid them. As long as they are by your side, you are never expected to get too far into the game. Numemon is one of those pathetic Digimon. It is not strong or cool looking or smart. It doesn't really have anything most people would be looking for in a partner. Even the moves it can use would disgust and disturb any normal person. Numemon is a loser in every sense of the word. And File Island is in danger. Its very existence is threatened by a very, very powerful enemy. It needs a hero, not some unlovable, pitiful reject. But what if that reject is the only one who could save the world? So the question is simple. Can you beat Digimon World 1 with only Numemon? I mean, that is insane, right? There is no way that can be done. Well, that is what we're all here to find out. First up, let's talk about some basics. Digimon World 1 can actually be a very long game, but you don't need to complete everything in order to beat it. The goal of this playthrough will be to beat the final boss of this game. So how do you do that? File City is our home. Many of the Digimon that used to live here have left. We need to bring them back here so the city can be whole again once more. Every time we bring a Digimon back, we will get prosperity points for that. Once we hit 50 prosperity, that is when the final dungeon opens up. So that is our main objective, getting to 50 prosperity and defeating the final boss. While trying to do everything with just Numemon is already a tough enough challenge for me, I have decided to add a couple of restrictions to this playthrough as well. The first one is self-explanatory. There are a lot of glitches in this game, many of which can be used for beneficial reasons. We won't be using any of them. As for the third point, item spamming can be used to pretty much invalidate the majority of battles that we'll face. While some items will be used in battle, I will avoid using too many. And for the last point, there are certain things in this game that are based on RNG. I won't be manipulating random chances by using save states. Nor will I reload battles that were lost. I feel like that's the only fair way to play. With all that out of the way, I hope you're all ready, because it's time to begin. First up, we actually need to get a Numemon, because we can't start with one. The name I've chosen for the starter is the one that got the most votes in the poll I made. While the intention behind it may have been Mr. Clean, I am just gonna call him Mclean. I had a choice between Agumon and Gabumon to start with, and I went with the latter, but really it doesn't matter much either way. One of the few things that I have looked up beforehand is the requirements for all the possible Digivolutions for both of the starter Digimon. Remember, we can only get Numemon if our rookie can't Digivolve into any of its possible Digivolutions. I am gonna make sure that happens by intentionally avoiding the required criteria for all the champion level Digimon for the starter rookies. I do need to train Gabumon, but I am being careful about what stats I'm training. Although it's kinda hard to really have a prolonged training session because Gabumon either wants to feast or defecate every few moments. The latter is going to be a big part of our reality during this run, once Numemon shows up. And if that's not enough, he gets tired if I train too often. I am pretty sure this reduces lifespan, but this early in the game, I don't have many other options. Eating food does lower tiredness a bit, I believe. All the more reason to not let them go hungry. On a related note, I do have a problem already. I don't have enough food to keep feeding this thing. We get 3 portions of meat a day from the meat farm, and unless we explore the nearby areas, that's it. So there's no option really, we have to explore a bit. As soon as we step into native forest, we get ambushed by an Agumon. We gotta use our Gabumon for now, there's no way to avoid this fight, I believe. The battle itself is really easy though, almost impossible to lose. Afterwards, Agumon joins the city, the first recruit of many, I hope. After that, I run around looking for mushrooms so I can keep feeding this thing. Maybe stockpile some food for the future if I can. This really isn't easy though. Mushrooms can randomly be found lying on the ground, but there's no guarantee for them to spawn as far as I can tell. While roaming around in native forest, I ended up running into Palmon. Palmon is an important early game recruit for the city, as she will upgrade the meat farm, and we'll be able to get giant meats. That will be really helpful. I don't like the fact that I'm doing this without getting Numemon first, but I'll draw the line here. After the battle, Palmon drops a brain chip, which may prove to be helpful a while later. The first few fights in this game can be easy, but the difficulty is gonna ramp up really quickly, let me tell ya. Well, after this, the routine for the moment is still the same. Roaming around, picking up mushrooms, going to Palmon to get our meat for the day, and then try to train some more, while taking care of the stats I'm training. I do still accidentally overtrain here and there. Oh well, I'm still learning to balance things out. On day 4, this is how the stats look. There's not much more I can do right now, to be honest. And finally, after 4 days, it is time to welcome our new best friend. Mclean has arrived, and boy are those stats hard to look at. We gotta keep in mind that this guy brings a flat 20% stat reduction when our rookie digivolves into it. Just so you know, digivolving is supposed to raise stats in this game, but for Numemon, it's the other way around. Not only that, but our new friend gets terrible stat gains as well, less than what Gabumon was getting. That is just not okay. While the stat reductions and low stat gains are pretty big issues on their own, there is another problem to deal with. The horrible horizontal kick attack that Mclean starts with is absolute garbage in every way. Let me show you how terrible it is. Madoki Betamon is pretty much the easiest wild enemy in the game. And look at this! Can you believe this? We are being outsmarted by a Madoki Betamon. This is truly something I never expected to see. I would say even Gabumon was way better in a fight, and that was a rookie level Digimon. But this is the challenge we have in front of us. We gotta find a way to legitimately beat this game with our creepy green friend. Somehow. But hey, at least we can have some party time every now and then. So I'm sure you must be thinking, well, if the initial attack sucks, let's just get new moves then. Well, I would like to do that, but that ain't too simple. There are 2 primary ways of learning new attacks in this game. The first is to learn through battling other Digimon. If the opposing Digimon tries to use a move that your Digimon can learn, then it might learn the move after the battle ends. The chance of that happening is quite low, although the exact chance may differ, depending on the enemy and the move itself, as well as the Digimon trying to learn it. There's more to it, but that's the simple explanation. Now, this way isn't really accessible for us early in the game, because Mclean can only learn filth type attacks as far as I can tell, and the enemy Digimon who use them aren't available this early. So the other, more accessible way, and the way I decided to go with, is to train the brain stat. As the stat goes up, at certain intervals, there's a low chance of learning a new move, which your Digimon has the capability of learning. The first possibility for this happens when the stat goes to 150, and then 250, and then 350, and so on. Now, it is possible to use save states to guarantee learning a move this way, but I am not gonna do that, cause I felt like that was pretty uncool. I am sure some of you have been looking forward to this challenge run, and I don't wanna disappoint you by using shady tactics or save scumming or something like that. Well, that left me at the mercy of RNG, and unfortunately I didn't get a new move as the brain stat hit 150. That is disappointing, as stats aren't exactly easy to train when it comes to our clean boy, but I'll keep trying, I guess. I spent a little time training the other stats, which I was avoiding so I wouldn't accidentally digivolve into something other than Numemon. The horrifically low stat gains are really frustrating, I have to say. At this point, I decided I should be a bit more adventurous and went back out into native forest. There's a Kunemon around here that can be recruited to the city, and I figured, hey, I think Mclean should be able to handle a rookie level boss fight at this point, right? Well, if I thought this was going to be easy, I was in for a rude awakening. Kunemon hits hard and hits quicker than us. The farting attack that we have right now is pathetic, even in a really small map like the one we have here. Even if we do land it, it does pitiful damage. Kunemon also has access to moves that can inflict negative status effects. This electric cloud can stun us for a long while, during which we are pretty much waiting to get hurt. And the poison sting looking attack can flatten our Digimon, turning it into a pixelated version of itself. We can kinda get stun locked here because of how fast Kunemon is compared to us. Relying on the finisher isn't gonna help, because party time doesn't really do much at all, while Kunemon's finisher really puts the hurt on our boy. Now, I considered using some items here, but I don't know. I felt like we need to be strong enough to take down at least Kunemon without them. But at the moment, that is not the case, as Mclean passes out. Well, I didn't think it would be easy, but I wasn't expecting to be taken out by that Kunemon. And we lost an item as well, so that's wonderful. All I can really do right now is train, get to the point where we can start dealing with the easier enemies at the very least. But here, I kinda ran out of food. I looked around and couldn't find any mushrooms, and I genuinely felt upset. I know it's a game, I know, but when it comes to games like this, I feel like you have to become engrossed in them, care for the being who depends on you. That's the only way to get the most out of the experience, right? Unable to find any food for him, I had to let Mclean go to sleep hungry. That genuinely felt bad. As a new day began, I knew I could get some food now, and it kinda made me happy to see Mclean jump with joy like that. There will be a day when Mclean won't have to worry about food, or even enemies. That is a promise. Well, I went back to exploring and finding food, and while looking around, I ran into Meramon, which I am told is the right pronunciation of this Digimon's name. I know I've messed up some Digimon's names in the past, but I'm trying to learn. Anyway, the Meramon take us to tropical jungle, and I really don't think I should be here right now. We have trouble with the wild enemies back in native forest, so I am terrified of the Digimon I can run into around here. But I thought maybe I could find some more food here. It is a big forest, but where's the food? Well, another day with very little progress and little to no luck with food scavenging. But now we have a bridge linking the city to this place, so that's something. But for the moment, I decided that in order to make any headway with the fights ahead, we need a new attack. But it takes a while, slowly building up the brain stat, especially because of all the constant interruptions when it comes to training. But thankfully, we are able to learn a new move when the brain stat gets to 250. It is a huge deal, finally having a usable attack. Now, filth type attacks, when it comes to raw damage, are the weakest in the game. But they kinda make up for it by being able to inflict negative statuses. Odor spray sounds gross, but it can cause stun. And it actually has some range. Really, that's all I can ask for the moment. Our Digimon can have up to 3 attacks usable in battle, but I'm gonna keep Odor Spray as the only one that Mclean should use. Now, armed with a more effective move, I think you all know what we need to do. It is time for a rematch. To be honest, I kinda thought that a new move was all we needed, but that isn't the case here. This Kunemon is fast and it still hits harder than we do. Odor Spray is better than what we had before, but what we had was terrible. Instead of stunning Kunemon with it, we are still the ones getting stunned. That is really disheartening. Kunemon just attacks so quickly, even though our HP is substantially higher. The quickfire attacks continue to chip away at us. And it does have a tendency to block our attacks every now and then too. I do have to resort to some item usage here, mainly for the MP. Even with barely any HP left, this Kunemon was still hanging in there and bringing the fight to us. It flattens Mclean with the Poison Sting attack, which really does a lot of damage too. And while I could make it easy by using some items here, I really wanted Mclean to handle this on his own from here. It got right down to the wire, not gonna lie, but with one more disgusting belch thrown in Kunemon's face, it's finally over. I really did not think that Kunemon would be such a challenge for this run. I just hope this isn't a sign of things to come. Afterwards, Kunemon joins the city. Well, Mclean barely survived that fight, but we've made progress, so that's worth something. But I am not satisfied with Odor Spray as our only viable attack. It's time to head back to the classroom and try to pick up some new moves. I was really hoping we'd get something cool when we get Brains to 350, as it takes so long to raise stats at the moment. But unfortunately, we didn't get anything. Well, that sucks. I didn't really feel like it was a great use of Mclean's limited time to acquire further education right now. So I made my way to a new area, Drill Tunnel. In here, we'll find a Drimogemon, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right this time. The poor thing is riding around on the floor in a weird way. Upon talking to it, it turns out he's really hot and bothered and doesn't know what to do about it. Yikes. Well, we gotta beat him up to calm him down, I guess. Sure. With the higher brain stat, we do have more options available to us now. But they aren't particularly useful at the moment, really. Drimogemon hits like a truck, with around or over 300 damage with many of his attacks. It also possesses an attack that can stun, which is particularly dangerous with how much damage he puts out. But we do finally get the stun to happen in our favor through the Odor Spray, which gives Mclean the opportunity to get ready for some party time. And Drimogemon may have been prepared for the bad breath, but even he probably didn't expect to get hit with poop in the face, in his own home no less. Can anyone ever really be prepared for that? But then, with our enemy on the brink, I realized I didn't have any MP recovery items on me. And with Mclean out of MP, all he could really do was run around, hoping to survive long enough to get the opportunity to hit that sweet, sweet party time once again. As time went on, it was apparent that getting hit with fecal matter the first time did some mental damage to the poor thing, as he just wandered around, shaken to the very core of his existence. For a moment, I thought he was coming right after me to make me pay for what Mclean had done. But no, I think he was just trying to leave so he could take a shower or something. But eventually, he tired himself out, and Mclean saw the opportunity to end this fight. The first poop to the face was almost too much for this guy, and the second one, well, very few have the strength to get up after a second one of those to the face. Our character drops some insane wisdom as the feces-covered Drimogemon tries his hardest to retain some semblance of his sanity. But for the moment, we are done here. We'll be back later after the guy cleans himself up. Mclean is 13 days old now. Wow, not much time left, I think. I try to go back to learning brains, hoping there's just enough time to maybe learn a new move. Attacks learned by one Digimon can be passed down to future generations, as long as they can use the move. As all future generations will be Numemon, that won't be a problem for us. Going back to the place where we found Selamon the first time, we run into him again. This time, he decides to join the city. More progress, I'll take it. But unfortunately, this is all Mclean had in him, as he succumbs to Father Time, who remains undefeated even in the digital world. The most we can expect from a champion Digimon's lifespan is about 13 to 15 days, so this wasn't entirely unexpected. That doesn't really dull the pain I feel over the loss, though. But Mclean isn't gone, you know. His love for us will be reborn in a new form. I thought it was only fair to keep the name. I am not ready to let go of Mclean just yet. There's more that we have to do. It is time to restart the cycle, which means we have to start training from scratch. One of the most jarring things about this run is the fact that even this tiny baby Digimon apparently has better stat gains than Numemon. That's depressing. Another aspect of this run that I didn't really consider before is in regards to our tamer level. It goes up as we unlock better Digivolutions, especially ultimate level ones. It can also increase if we win tournaments, I believe. Now for this playthrough, I have no interest in messing around with tournaments, as they aren't required to beat the game. And since Digivolving into Numemon doesn't really raise the tamer level, we will never be able to raise it. The reason I'm bringing this up right now is that a fraction of our Digimon stats are passed on to the baby after the Digimon passes away. The higher the tamer level, the better percentage of stats passed on. But with the lowest possible level, which we have, we will pretty much be starting over from scratch every time we have to raise a new Numemon. That makes things harder, considering how low our stat gains are. One of my main objectives is to improve gains that our Digimon gets from training. There are a number of things that can help do that, but most of those will require me to make substantial progress before I'll get access to them. Until then, all I can really do is make the best of what I have available to me. Now, this Mclean actually has a very particular purpose for this life. We won't be making any major progress in the game with him. Instead, he will spend his life training the brain stat, so we can, potentially, unlock as many attacks as we can. The ones we have right now just aren't good enough. I have purposely avoided looking up what the other attacks actually do. I only really know the name of the very last one. Hopefully we'll get something more effective in battle than odor spray. This might seem like a weird way to go, but I don't really have much of an option right now. This Mclean might not be doing something truly memorable, but future generations will reap the benefits from his work. That's how it goes in real life too, right? Generational wealth and all that. Well, we do acquire a new move at 450, which is a relief. This one is called Poop Speed Toss, so now we have a way to fling Mclean's feces outside of party time. How wonderful! I wonder if that Drimogemon is still traumatized. But we're not done yet. Mclean has to reach heights of wisdom never seen before in a Numemon. I did have Mclean take a break from all the studying to try out the new move. It's kinda fast, I suppose. The potential poison effect is the real attraction though. Anyway, back to brain improvement. At 550, Mclean learns something. Oh, it's called Poop Round Toss. The W in the range means it is an AoE attack. The ones we've acquired so far are all single target, so that's cool. Although the damage is worse than Speed Toss, which already wasn't a lot. And the studying continues. This is probably one of the smartest, most educated Numemon ever, right? At 650, we learn yet another move. I was told that the chance of acquiring a new move is quite low this way, but maybe that's not the case for the Filth Digimon? Or maybe Mclean is just really lucky. Anyway, Round Speed Toss uses a lot of MP, but it appears to be an improved version of the last move. But I don't know, not a big fan of this one. And unfortunately, this is as far as this highly educated Mclean can go, as he passes away almost immediately afterwards. But we do have a bunch of different attacks now. We can try to make them work. Educated Mclean has left a big gift for the Numemon who will come after him, and he won't be forgotten anytime soon. The new baby will carry on the proud name of Mclean. And we go back to the process of raising our Digimon from scratch. This time, I'll train our new Mclean for battle and exploration, since we have a reasonable move pool now. There is something cool that baby and in-training Digimon can accomplish. If they train at a single place 10 times, that particular training will be permanently upgraded for future use, meaning more stat bonuses. I think it was 10 times, but I just train over that just to be safe. You can see the difference in training at this station now, compared to when we started. It's not a huge thing, but every little bit matters. And this Agumon looks like he is ready to grow up and become the third generation of Mclean. There is already a legacy for that name, I'd say. Next up, it's time to go back to Drill Tunnel. We'll find another Drimogemon here who's hard at work. In order for us to help him get this digging done faster, we'll have to haul some dirt out of here. It takes a while to do this, as we have to take the dirt, get to the entrance to throw it out, come back and talk to the Digimon, and then restart the process. We do get some bits and tiny stat bonuses for doing this, though. Here's a funny bit of trivia. You don't actually have to do this, but then the digging will take a lot longer. I think a couple of days or something, I don't exactly remember. But if you help with the dirt, it can be done in one day. Anyway, after the digging is done, Drimogemon will find a rock in the way, which a champion level Digimon or higher can move. Thankfully, Mclean is a champion, at least in name if not in stats. And this is where we will find Meramon, the one who made the initial Drimogemon feel all hot and bothered. He's having some kind of meltdown, and to make him see reason, there's only one thing we can do. And this fight starts really well, with a couple of quick poop shots to Meramon's body. Maybe we caught him off guard with the first one. I really thought this fight wouldn't be all that difficult, really. But that magma rock attack hits really hard. Over 500 damage is not cool. The poison isn't happening, unfortunately, even though Mclean has been tossing that poop like his life depends on it. And also, this Mclean has a tendency to just daydream for no reason. I kinda lost a bit of footage here, actually. I didn't use an item yet because I thought we were fine, and then Meramon used his finisher to knock out Mclean with a metric ton of damage. I did not have a revival item on hand, which meant that our Mclean just got knocked out. That really didn't sit right with me. It was my bad for not using items when I could have. But I am still trying not to rely on items as much as I can, unless I absolutely have to. After a little more training, I wanted a rematch with the hothead, and he starts the fight by coming in and kicking Mclean right in the nuts. This guy really needs to chill out, and Mclean can help him do that by throwing some poop in his eyes. That magma rock attack is a nuisance though, and it can cause confusion too. Thankfully, that wears off over time. But Mclean really wasn't having a good time here, so he decided to instigate some party time. But that is not enough to put down this fellow Hotman, as Aang would say. But again, even in this fight, I felt really rigid and stubborn about item usage. And I wanted Mclean to take down this hot-blooded lunatic on his own. But once more, Meramon catches our boy with a double flaming knuckle sandwich, knocking Mclean out once again. I decided before this fight that I wouldn't be using revival items at all in this playthrough, meaning Mclean loses his second life. We can't afford to let him lose the third one now, so we gotta be careful. Losing a third life could mean that we could, potentially, lose some of the techniques that we've learned so far, which is not acceptable. But also, I wouldn't be reloading a save if I lost a fight, to keep myself on my toes. Anyway, I took a break from all the fighting, and decided to make a little progress, in case Mclean doesn't survive the final rematch with the Hotman. To be fair, I do believe in him. I just think that the break will help him clear his head. In the Mangrove region, which is next to the tropical forest, we can find a lonely Betamon. If we talk to him, he'll agree to join the city. That was easy. I wish everyone around here was like Betamon. A little further in is Amida Forest, where we will get a pretty scary warning for a game like this. Kinda reminds me of that episode in Pokemon, where Ash had a similar problem. But here, the threat is very real. I remember doing this when I was young, and I didn't really get what you're supposed to do back then either. I randomly lucked out. Well, Mclean is gonna get hit with a couple of sniper shots here, unfortunately. After getting hit twice, we gotta start over. After healing our partner first, obviously. Just like how I did it back in the day, I randomly came across the correct path. Centarumon was only testing us. Yeah, sure. Anyway, now that we have his respect, he'll join the city. He'll open up a clinic in town, which will be helpful later. Well, we've put it off long enough. After a little more training, I think Mclean is ready to go back into the tunnel to meet his destiny. Meramon knew we would be back. Well, yeah, we have a score to settle after all. I need answers as well. What burns brighter, Meramon or Mclean's will to live? Mclean is coming in real hot by immediately getting the poison to work. That passive damage is gonna add up over time, and it makes Meramon just stand around, too. I suppose being poisoned and getting smacked in the face with a barrage of poop will make anyone depressed. But this guy ain't done yet, as he blocks a pile of fecal matter with his bare hands to then launch some magma rock in our direction. He is trying his best to keep his flame from going out. We gotta respect that. But this is the eternal battle of duality right here. It was never fire versus water. It was always meant to be fire versus poop. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. It truly is like watching a couple of heavyweight rivals duking it out the old-fashioned way. No running around, no strategies or tactics, just standing toe to toe, taking turns hitting each other with their very best shots. It happens slowly, but Mclean begins to take the lead. It appears that he has surpassed his rival. I think even Meramon probably realizes that. All he can do is watch, with slumped shoulders, as Mclean calls for his finisher. And finally, on the third attempt, Meramon falls. Afterwards, Meramon joins the city. I think we can all agree that our boy deserves a little praise here. But as amazing as it was to see Mclean surpass this challenge, it might have been what kept Mclean going. For as soon as Meramon left, it appeared that Mclean was ready to leave as well, in a more tragic way. I feel like it's time for Mclean to rest for a while. He has given us everything we could have hoped for, and has laid the foundation for what's to come. In the meantime, there are others who will take the baton and move forward. It is time to let one of the other members of the family get into the driving seat. It is time for Dookie.
Oh, yes.
A new cycle has begun. He might not be Mclean, but we have to support our new friend in the same way. First up, I want to upgrade the meat farm to the final stage. The rain plant we got a while ago actually serves a purpose. In tropical forest, we can find this plant which appears to be wilting. By using the rain plant on it, it will digivolve or something into Vegemon. This Vegemon will immediately join the city and upgrade the farm. Now we can get even better meat and a few other useful items too that I'll talk about later. While taking care of the drill tunnel quest, we were able to get access to Mount Panorama. I wanted to do a little exploring, see what's going on around here. There's a Unimon near the Spore area who needs help. After giving him a bandage, he'll be off to the city. Another recruit, very nice. Not too far from there is the Gear Savannah. The enemies here are a cut above what Dookie is capable of dealing with, but I took a look around still. And up ahead is Trash Mountain, where we finally find another filth Digimon. It is weird watching this unfold. Two Digimon just flinging poop at each other. This really isn't worth it, though, as this Digimon doesn't know any new moves that we can learn anyway. Back around the drill tunnel, the Drimogemon is finally done with his work and is more than happy to join the city. On that note, the city has reached a prosperity rating of 16 now. Not too shabby. But that good feeling isn't going to last, as we are ambushed by a Greymon as soon as we leave Digimon's house. He wants to challenge us, and if he wins, he will take the street sign, which doesn't exist. But we still have to fight him. And it is not an understatement to say that Dookie isn't ready for this, especially since he's pretty exhausted before the fight even began. But although I could have taken care of that with some items, Dookie is not doing enough damage, and Greymon has a lot of HP. Dookie needs to do a lot more training before he'll be ready for this fight. Thankfully, we aren't locked into this battle. As long as we leave the house without talking to Digimon, Greymon won't ambush us. For the time being, I figured I'd focus on some more exploration. Near the tropical forest, we can find an invisible bridge which will lead to the Great Canyon area. The first important place we can find here is the Monochromon shop. This guy can be recruited to the city, but it ain't easy to do. In order to entice him, we need to play a little mini game. We'll act as the shopkeeper in his place and sell items to customers. We can either sell the item at the normal price or we can raise or lower prices. The goal is to make a certain amount of profit, which I recall being around 3,000 or so. This whole thing is very RNG based. The items the customer may want are randomly chosen between three things, in my experience. It could be meat, which has the lowest profit margins, the portable potty, which is a little better, or medicine, which has the highest margins by far. Some customers, like Gaburimon, are more open to paying higher prices, while others can be pretty stingy with their cash. This minigame takes 8 hours, so I have to take that into consideration as well. I wasn't able to meet the required profit this time, but I was paid some bits for my trouble. I think I'll come back to this later. While looking around, Dookie and our main character accidentally fell off of a cliff. Somehow, we not only survived that, but we aren't even hurt. Wow. But there are all kinds of scary looking Digimon around here, so I have to be careful while moving around. Eventually, we find an elevator. On the highest floor, we find a bird's nest. And this ain't just any old bird, it's Birdramon. Dookie accidentally found himself in a boss fight. First Greymon and now this. Dookie has a knack for getting into trouble. While the early few moments of this fight looked kinda promising, with Dookie flinging some Dookie at Birdramon at a pretty good pace, that only seemed to annoy this fiery feathered fiend, as it brings out a laser that knocks off over 1,000 health. This ain't looking good, I'll tell you that. Birdramon can basically 3-shot us from max health. Even if Dookie tries his best and even blocks a laser every now and then, it's the only move our enemy seems to know, and it spams the laser at every opportunity. Dookie was completely outclassed here, and was swiftly put out of commission. It would have taken a metric ton of items to even stand a chance. That wouldn't be any fun. 2 lives down already. Dookie is having a rough life for sure. At this point, I decided that we just need to slow things down a bit, and maybe get our hands on some more bits. The new meat can be sold for a reasonable price, and the regular meat can be brought pretty cheap from the new store in town. But the problem is, acquiring a large amount of bits isn't easy to do just by selling random items and beating up wild enemies. The latter is already an issue with how unreliable our partner is when it comes to fighting efficiently. Even the easiest enemies in the game can take plenty of effort to take down, and the amount of bits we can get from them isn't worth the hassle. Later on, we will find a much better way to get bits. Anyway, in Tropical Jungle, we can randomly find orange bananas. Reading the description made me think that this item was incredible. Full HP and MP recovery, wow! So I went back and forth between these two screens to try and find more of them. Before heading back, I went to try my luck at Monochromon's shop one more time. It took a bit of effort, and I didn't get the needed luck right away. But the third time turned out to be the charm, as we got plenty of customers who needed to get some medicine. Our skills as a salesman deeply impressed the owner, who decided to join the city that we keep talking about. Now, back in town, Meramon actually tells us about rumors every now and then. Meramon heard something about there being bandits out there, and his information is on the point. Near the Great Canyon, we will be ambushed by some bandits, led by Ogremon. This is a 3v1 fight, which may seem like a daunting task for our Dookie, but things aren't as bad as they seem. These bandits don't know how to work together as a unit, so their attacks tend to damage each other as well. It's kinda really fun and funny to watch that happen. It's actually in our best interest for the two Agumon to stick around as long as possible. Unfortunately, we can't target a specific enemy in a battle like this, so there's not much we can do to keep the Agumon alive. There are two things worth noting when it comes to fights with multiple enemies. The concept of hit stun does exist in this game. If Dookie gets hit by an attack and another one comes at him immediately afterwards, the second attack will miss. Also, in addition, while flat is a pretty terrible status condition to have, the afflicted Digimon can't be hit while it's transforming to the pixelated form, or back from it. Eventually, it comes down to a 1v1 fight between Dookie and Ogremon. I decided it was time to stop being so uncomfortable with item usage, and I did end up using a couple in this fight. Still, nothing too ludicrous, just a couple. Ogremon puts out a lot of damage after all, and has pretty high health as well. We've seen that magma rock attack before, and it ain't getting any easier to take those to the face. Even though it takes a while to get it to work, one of the toxic poops finally infects Ogremon. From here, this bandit is on a timer, because once again, we're gonna rely on the poison to do most of the work for us. Once we put it on, it stays on. It then becomes a battle of attrition to some degree. We just gotta outlast him. And after a long, arduous battle, Ogremon learns a valuable lesson. Never turn your back on Dookie, for he may rearrange your spine with a high-speed Dookie. Ogremon and his friends run away afterwards, but I don't think we've seen the last of them. But I think we'll have to stop here for now. This video is already getting really long, and there's quite a way for us to go still. But don't worry, you won't have to wait too long. You'll get to see the rest of the journey this Sunday. I hope you've been enjoying this run so far. If you have, don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It really does help. And if you want to support the channel more directly, then you can always do so on Patreon. Next time, we'll go chasing after those dang bandits again, who have a secret weapon waiting for us. And there is that Greymon too. How in the world are we gonna stop him from taking our imaginary street sign? Not to mention, there is a very scary place waiting for us at the end. Oh boy, we definitely have our work cut out for us. So, is it possible to beat Digimon World 1 with only Numemon? Next time, we'll get our answer. Stay tuned, and I'll see you all very soon.